welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to look at the topic of fertilisers, which is part of Unit 3 for National 4 Chemistry. Fertilisers is an important topic. We require fertilisers in the world so that we can ensure that we have high enough food production for the rising population of the world. Fertilisers contain key elements which allow plants to grow healthily. The key elements that plants require from fertilisers are nitrogen, with the symbol N, potassium, with the symbol K, and phosphorus, with the symbol P. There are two different types of fertiliser. So you can have natural fertilisers. This would be things like manure that you might find gets spread on fields, or synthetic or man-made fertilisers. These often come in bags as pellets or as liquids, and you might find that you buy them for your garden, for growing plants, or for growing fruit and veg. On the side of a bag of fertiliser, it will tell you the percentage of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium that are present within the fertiliser. So synthetic fertilisers can be made to have very specific proportions of the elements required, which can be really useful for different plants which require different combinations of elements. Natural fertilisers, you're not able to know what proportion of the elements you would have present. So if we were to make a fertiliser in the lab, we would do this using a neutralisation reaction, so a reaction between an acid and a base. We need to make sure that our neutralisation reaction would involve at least one of the elements of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So for example, we could take nitric acid, which is HNO3, and we could react that with ammonia. This would allow us to produce ammonium nitrate, which would be a fertiliser which contains nitrogen. Equally, we could take phosphoric acid, H3PO4, and we could react that with ammonia. This would then produce ammonium phosphate. You could also take things like nitric acid and react it with potassium hydroxide. This would give you potassium nitrate as your fertiliser and would also produce water. You can use any combination of nitric acid, phosphoric acid, potassium hydroxide with many other chemicals in a neutralisation reaction to allow you to produce the fertiliser that you want to make. Although fertilisers are incredibly useful and allow us to increase the crop yields, they also need to be really soluble to work. And whilst that's great because they get into the plants, it can cause problems for the environment. When it rains and the fertilisers dissolve into the groundwater, they can then run off into bodies of water. So they can end up in streams and rivers and then eventually end up in things like ponds and lochs. This can cause a problem which is called eutrophication. When this happens, algae can grow or bloom. This means it forms on the surface of the water and uses up the oxygen in the water. By doing this, the plants which are submerged in the water and live under the water, and fish, then don't have oxygen and will die. Pause the video now and answer these three questions. The three key elements that we find in fertilisers are nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus. The other property that fertilisers have to be useful is that they have to be soluble, so they dissolve in water and go into the plant through the roots. What problems can fertilisers cause? So they can eventually cause something called algal bloom, which will cause plants and fish to die in water. Thank you for watching my video. I hope that you found it helpful. Please remember to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. You can also follow me on Instagram, Miss Adams Chemistry, and TikTok, Miss Adams Chem, for flashcards and short videos throughout the year. Bye for now.